So, Nickquolette, I am so excited to have you here on my podcast, Leaving a Rich Legacy with Jessica Rich. So, I don't know if you're aware, but this came about. I just thought about all the conversations I just never had growing up. I was in therapy, we were talking about life, careers, the decisions that I've made, my parents, relationships, and I'm like, I wish I would have known these things sooner. And I started writing letters to myself and letters to my parents. But this podcast was like, you know what? There are so many people out there who are not having these conversations, who are in the same boat or don't even realize they need the conversations. And I want this to be a platform to do that. So I'm so happy to have you here. We've known each other, wow, almost 10 years now. And
Yes.
we recently connected earlier this year. So we've always been connected, but the reason why I wanted you to be on the podcast is because early this year, I reached out to you about negotiating salaries. And I know it's something that we do not talk about, especially in the Black community, but in general, we tiptoe around salary conversations, negotiations, because we feel like we shouldn't, the audacity of us to ask our employers to negotiate. And we had a really powerful conversations with other women about negotiating salaries, being open about salaries, and knowing our worth. And there's no better person to have this conversation with, because I want to make sure I have an impact on the Black community, people of color, because we are not too far removed from slavery. And there are still things that we hesitate with asking because we're afraid. So thank you for being here.
It's my honor. I just love you to pieces. And I need to tell, if you give me an opportunity, I don't know if you remember this story when we rode down to Austin. I got to tell a story about that.
Oh, testing. Yes. Okay.
I have people laughing about that story.
Okay. Yes. Remember. Okay. Definitely gonna make
Just
time
bring
to.
me back. Bring me back to it.
I will. Oh my gosh. Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then also a little bit about your business. I see it behind you. iRock Resume is your baby. So definitely just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, and I'm gonna go in a different direction because this is about our people. I want to go deeper into who I am as an individual. So I am a born and raised Chicago girl, and I grew up in the Chicago Housing Authority, the Dearborn Homes. So I grew up in the projects to a single mom who dad said, you know what, I don't want to be married anymore. And you have 3 children. I'm leaving. And he did. And he moved us down there, moved my mom from a 2-parent home and on the south side of Chicago down to the projects where he grew up. And he said he wanted his children to grow up in that environment. Well, back in the day that he grew up, it wasn't like what I experienced. I am sure he didn't mean for us to run from bullets and the gangs and all that kind of stuff. That was just core for the part. That was something I've always done. So growing up in that environment where your grammar school or elementary school was in the middle of the projects where you walked to school, and then I went to one of the roughest high schools in Chicago, Wendell Phillips High School. At that time, it was just known for fighting. They had a program there for the Principal Scouts program because I happened to be a little bit of smart. So therefore, I went on over there. But just growing up in that environment where it's a bunch of single parents and your neighborhood, all of the single moms kind of bonded together and helped raise everybody's children, because if one saw you doing something, trust me, your mama was going to be told. We used to have 3 ladies who hang out the window, channel 2, which is CBS News, channel 5, NBC News, and channel 7, ABC. So CBS, NBC, and ABC. So they used to tell everything. And so you always had other people watching out for you. But also on the flip side of that, it was riddled with crime. So I lost some of my great friends to gunshots for stupid stuff, growing up in that kind of environment. So, but when you see on TV that there's a better life, and then we would go to my grandparents' house, who at that time on the south side where they lived, it was so beautiful. There was an opportunity for you to do better. And I happen to believe that the teachers will say your mind is your key that will unlock your future. I happen to believe that. And what's so weird about this, I shouldn't say weird, I've always been a writer. So I used to write poetry, got it published in a little newspaper at the school where they used to run off the printer. Now, you don't know nothing about this. But anyway, back in the day with the ink that everybody used to, oh, we used to love to smell the ink. But anyway, I was always a writer. So going through that journey and going through the roughest high school, having the blessed opportunity to attend the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, I got accepted to the School of Engineering, because I had this right side brain, and I also was a creative. So I had the left side brain was the technical, and then the right side was creative. So I got into the University of Illinois, the College, of Engineering, decided that wasn't it. So I pursued Spanish and business economics, and also business administration and economics. It came out with a sort of kind of an international degree at that time. It was new on the scene, so they didn't do it. So I wanted to kind of give some of that background, because I don't usually tell that story about my upbringing, because I did not leave home until I had a job after college. So after I left college, I went back to the projects to live and work downtown until I was able to save up enough money to get my own little small bedroom apartment, and a 1-bedroom apartment. And I moved in with my raggedy college suitcase, my broom, my mop, and a comforter and a pillow. And I slept on my floor until I was able to afford a couch. And then I slept on my couch until I was able to save up enough to get a bed. So that's how all of that happened. So all of those humble beginnings actually gives me the drive to do what I do. And so always helping people with resumes all through college, papers. I would be able to read the front of a book, the middle of a book, and the back of a book, and write an A+ paper. All the time. And my friends would get so mad. I just know how to write. And I didn't think of anything back then, because I was always struggling. I had to work 2 and 3 jobs. So I didn't have the luxury of my parents paying for my school or anything like that. But I knew how to write. And so I know how to write. So I did all of that. And so therefore it just leads me into using my skills. But Jessica, we work for the same company. I was corporate minded. I'm like, I'm going to do all this part of our drive down to Austin, all these CPCUs, CLUs, and all these kind of things, because I am getting up that corporate ladder. And then we went through that big major change, and my employees came back to me and said, Miss Nickquolette, if I didn't work for you, I would pay you to do this. I said, well, people pay you. So I was on internal resumes, back then called requests for considerations, internal interview prep. I was always the go-to. And then at that time, it was so many people that needed it when we were in ILR together. I said, y'all, this is not my job. I got to listen to these calls. I cannot do this. And it was crazy. So I put a little blurb out on Facebook, and then the people I work with throughout the enterprise, I said, oh yeah, you helped me get a 3.3 on this. And I'm like, I helped y'all do all. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I wrote people performance reviews.
Hey, no, you come on, because we were asked to provide comments.
Yeah, so then I wrote some 3.3s, boo. And I was like, and I did it all for free, because I just enjoyed it, because I had a knack for words. And I'm like, y'all owe me some money. Y'all didn't even buy me a gift card. So that was the thing. But so therefore, iRock Resumes was born, because people were actually inboxing me, asking me how much. And I'm like, I don't know. So I literally started charging enough for a manicure and pedicure. I'm not kidding, because I just wanted to get rid of that bill. I said, oh, I can make enough to get my manicure, pedicure. So then that started happening. Then I was like, oh, I can pay a light bill. These vice presidents start coming after me and sending me these people, all of their people. So I have a slew of clients, because the vice president got a big job on my little manicure resume price. And then it started going from there. And I said, you know what? I think I better take this a little bit more serious. And that's when I did. And I had the courage to go into my boss and say, take me off the promotability list. She almost had a meltdown. And she said the people were inboxing her like, what's going on? They thought I was quitting. And I'm like, no, I'm just doing something else. And then she eventually found out what I was doing and really started trying to help me before she retired. So I'm like, nope, just leave me where I am. I'm good. So that's a long story, but I needed to say that for an African-American community. If you grew up in a struggling area, those of you, it can happen. It's about your mindset and what you want to do. But when you're always struggling, trying to, do whatever, my mom trying to take care of her whole family on $13,000 a year, that is a struggle. And so you just had to do what you had to do. So I was focused on getting out. And I'm also happy to say my sister, she has a bachelor's, 2 masters, and she's a doctor, has a doctorate in education. And then my brother is a longtime Navy man. So he has served, and he's up like, I don't even know the levels, but he's some kind of general or something like that. So we all made it out.
Yes, successful.
Yes, yes.
Love it. And I feel like, to your point, like, you really connect with your
Mhm.
people because you know what it's like to want more and to
Yeah.
stay focused. And resumes, I will say this, you wrote a resume for me when it was a request for consideration. So I probably was back on the end when it was the mani-pedi.
Yeah.
And I have
Yes.
always also experienced on the other end of it.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
it's
Mhm.
obvious that
Mhm.
you have grown over time. And not
Yes.
only that, like, you understood what you had to offer. You know,
Yeah.
it was fun at first, but now
Yeah.
you realize, like, hey, not only am I passionate about it, but I'm good at it, and you
Mhm.
know your worth, and you are pricing accordingly.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people, even that, going back to even the conversation about our skill set and negotiating that, because sometimes we don't realize our worth. And until you see it on paper and you're like, oh my gosh, I am all that and a bag of chips, then you can have that confidence to go forward. But until you sit down and really see within yourself what you're worth, and also seeing the results that you're getting, why not you? And even if
Yeah.
those of you out there who are thinking about your side gig, it may turn into something more if that's something that you feel. And that is still a career path. Entrepreneurship is still a career path. And you have to make that decision for yourself. But that's true. You know, one end you start off just trying it out. And then all of a sudden, like, no, these people are getting some major jobs and moving across the country and stuff. All these big salaries. I think I better rethink this. And so I price myself toward my worth because I know the return on the investment. Mhm.
So okay, for the individuals who have a job,
Mhm.
a career, and they have possibly a side gig they're thinking about, or they're doing something, just maybe giving 25%, what would be your advice to, like, make that jump, to, even though you're working, right, to give it a
Mhm.
100% if that's what you're passionate about?
And that's when you have to make the decision on what you want to do with your corporate career. I had this conversation with another person that we know, and I said, you have to make the decision. Either you want to move toward getting promoted in the organization and put your effort there, or you really want to build the business so you can become right there. And you can't complain. This person was complaining, I'm still trying to get to this next level in the business, because they did like a what they call direct selling. And I said, well, you know, you have conflicting priorities. So you have to make the decision on which one you want. I made the decision to pull myself out because I know what it's going to take to be on stage all the time. You know what I mean? Having to prove yourself, jump through another hoop. And that's another whole story that we can talk about another time. You know, all of these different things that you have to do, and you have to make that decision. So therefore, I would say to everybody, make the decision. Do you just really want a side gig just to make some extra money? Then keep it like that and focus on your corporate career. But if you're like, you know what, I'm really good at this and I see potential in this, and maybe I can go ahead and develop this into something. But I also recommend, do not follow the shiny syndrome of saying all of these ads about got this big car and got this big house and all this kind of stuff. Don't follow that. Build your business slowly and for surely to keep that, salary coming in until you know. And if you work for a corporation, learn everything you can, increase and enhance your business acumen, because you're already in the company, you're already learning it. Take that and narrow that down to your company. I have taken the company I work for and took all of those learnings and squished it down to iRock Development Solutions, LLC, doing business as iRock Resumes.
Oh,
Yep.
I love it.
Yep. Girl, I got my 4 strategic priorities. I got everything. Everything we do, color coded. If I told my director of operations, yes, I have a director of operations. I said, if it's not under these 4 pillars, we ain't doing it, period. So you have to think about how do you want to do it. And then you set yourself up for success. So when you roll off, you're not struggling, because you have to now do all of these back end things for the business. You want to roll off where your business is making money, not that you're building processes, not that you're building all of this clientele and all this kind of stuff. You want to have that set. Yeah.
So all right. So conflicting priorities, making a decision, what do you really want, right? Of course, your 9 to 5 is going to fund your
Mhm.
business, but making that decision that this is what you want to pour into. And I'm sure, of course, prioritizing your time to be able to do that. Because
Yes.
you're working 9 to 5, and then you're going into your 5 to 9 every day, or whatever your schedule looks like. So you can relate to growing up, struggle, single parent household, going back to the projects. In your work, like, do you interact with individuals, the Black community, people of color? And do you have any specific like mission or goal when you interact with people of color? Not to single anyone out, but like, is that something that's important to you?
Yeah, and it's all about the confidence, because what I find more often than not, mostly the African American women, it's always saying, I just do this. And I snatch that word just out of the mouth, because it's like, no, you make an impact. You are making all of these results. You're having results. It's not about just, it's about how do you change your mindset to see the value, because well, we are worker bees. We put our heads down, we work hard because that's what our parents told us. You work hard and people will notice. That is not true in today's environment. And so therefore you have to make sure that you are strategically planning your career so that you can go to the next step. But you also have to change what's coming out of your mouth, because when you speak it, it is so. So that's what I really feed into them. And, I'm also a pastor's wife. So I am feeding into them, because it's like a ministry to me. I'm feeding into them and saying, no, you can do more. And here is why. And then also here is how. So you have to build up the confidence. And sometimes I always call it a counseling first. Then I work on the career documents, and then I do the coaching, because you have to get them to understand this is what you can do. So yes, I do pour into them, because I don't find that with my other persuasions. I just don't. Not that I wouldn't do it for them if someone came to me, they like, no, I know what I want to do. I want to do this. I've already researched it, and here it is. And they're not scared to ask for money. But us, we're like, I don't know about this. And then we also hem and haw about investing in ourselves. I'm like, okay, so you asking for $150,000 salary and you don't want to pay this price. So look about I don't understand it, but we'll go out and spend the red bottom shoes in a minute. I'm like, no, I said, where are your priorities? Because they'll go out of style. So what about how you're going to get an income that's going to continue to fund those red bottom shoes, the newer kind too. So, you got to think about that. But yes, I do tend to pour more into our people because of where we're coming from.
So you're right. And I was kind of mentioning that before, watching you go from your mani petty price to where you are now, but it is an investment. And in our mind, it's like, why would I pay that? But like, if you're looking to actually be on the other side of what you want, then you have to invest in it. So you are absolutely right. Why do you, just based on your experience, why do you think we are so hesitant to ask for what we want when it comes to careers?
We don't believe we deserve it. We have this mindset that I don't know if it comes from back in the slave days or back when your parents even told you just better be glad you have a job. Yes. I've had this job for years and you just better be happy. Don't make any waves. Don't do this. Don't do that. And it's like, well, but why not? Why can't I ask for what I feel I deserve? All they can say is no, but at least I've stated my case. And if they say no, I'm always about go shop and see if somebody else will say yes. Right? So that's what you have to think of. That's what it is. We just still have that mindset that we don't deserve it. And we're scared that we're going to be marked, or we're going to have a target on our back. And, maybe I shouldn't ask for this, or maybe I only should ask for a little. Because I've even had to shake some of our people out of, why would you even ask that? Go for this amount. And I'll never forget, I'll tell you a quick story about one of my clients. She was only like, well, and she had been out of work for over a year and a half, and going back in, trying to get a job. I'm only going to ask for this. I'm like, but why? You can ask for this. Well, no, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, no, this is what you say. I gave her 2 lines. So I said, you better send this email back and you're going to say these 2 lines and she was going to a graduation at a college and all this kind of said, go on to Mother's Day graduation to some of your family member or somebody. And don't you say nothing until they respond back to you. And then she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I said, do it because you deserve it. She only wanted like 90,000. I said, no, we're going to do it. I gave her some odd number. Go and ask for 100 and blah, 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 blah. And I said, this is what you do. And this is why. And then you're going to add some sense to it. And then tell them why. 3 reasons. So develop the reasons for it, told her, go back. Then her husband was having a meltdown, African-American male. No, you just need to accept it. You need to tell him. I said, tell him that's okay. I got this. I'm not trying to break up your marriage. I said, tell him, just watch me work. He'll be all right. And then I said, you go do that. She was so excited. She not only got that, they came back at 10,000 more than what no, actually 20, because she was only looking at 90. She got $110,000. And it was more than what I told her to send back. And she said, are you sitting down? I'm like, yeah, what? It happened. I said, now let's do the math. I said, because you said you need a new car. I said, let's take out the taxes of that, because I told you at this number, let's take out the taxes. So she ended up having enough money to pay 2 car notes for not only her, but also her husband. And then he like, oh, I'm going to use her now. I said, I told you. It's the confidence. And that's what it's about. We have to ask for it. All they can do is say no and come back. That's why negotiation is out there. It's for everyone, not just a select few. That's what it is.
Do you think so thinking about the negotiation and salaries, negotiating salaries, have you learned anything from Gen Z? And the reason why I asked about that is in millennials, you'll see now that there's this confidence about what is being demanded. And I'm just thinking about it, right? So over your career of resume writing and coaching, have you learned from some of that confidence, because they're demanding more? And I'm a millennial, and I would have to say they're demanding more than what millennials are demanding.
And you know what? They don't have any fear. And you know what they come from? They come from a perspective of, I'm not going to do what my mama and daddy did. They don't want that. They don't want, they're the people who are really going to push our economy forward. So they're not going to shy away for what they want. And what I'm finding, sometimes I get them to say, well, I'm not really concerned about the financial. I want to make sure I have the finances I need, but I need flexibility. I want to go back to school. So they're thinking about all these other things in play. And also, is it hybrid, 100% at home? And oh gosh, this one lady, she said, if it's not part of the mission that aligns with who I am, I'm not going to work for them. I'm like, let's do it, boo. So let's go. And so the coaching went on to talk about, what is your mission, your personal mission? What do you look for? All this philanthropy and what they're doing outside and helping people. And they're huge on diversity and Caucasian young people as well. It's not just African-American young people. They're like, no, if it ain't diverse, I don't want to be around that. So that's what they're thinking as well, which is so pleasantly surprising for them to think like that. So it's more than just financial. We're of my age group. We're like, okay, we want the money, so everything else will be okay. And you all want the money and the other stuff too. Well, they're like, no, I want purpose in my work.
Wow.
Yep.
I know I've learned from leading through leading them, but just to hear that from your perspective, like they're unapologetically, confident in what they want, and they're demanding it. And I think it's really changing the workforce.
Oh, yeah, it really is. And it's going to change it for the better, because we shouldn't have all these barriers when you have someone who can do the job. Because I remember in ILR, if somebody came to work in slippers, and not that saying they should do that, but I'm just saying all of this kind of stuff, the way that they will look back in the day, my day, when we used to have to wear pantyhose and suits to work, full face makeup, everything, perms, we had to do all of that, or relaxers, I should say. Nowadays, those people back in those days, they were still working, will probably turn over and be like, what in the world has happened? But it's not about that anymore. Can you do the job?
Yes.
But appearance will stop people in a minute. I remember even years ago, I would not hire a young lady who was working in Bloomington. She came to her interview with a tongue ring. I was so focused on the tongue ring that I could not understand what she was saying. And I would not hire her because she came to the interview in a tongue ring. And the lady and her manager called me and asked me why, because that was her best person. I said, because I was so focused on the tongue ring that I was concerned how she was going to talk to the actual customer. She said, oh, I forgot to tell her to take that out when she interviewed. But that was back in this day. Now, today, I would never do that. But back then, I did. And this is back in, oh gosh, no, you won't make me tell it. Back in the 1994, probably around 98, 99. No, it had to be, I'm sorry, 99, 2000, 2001, back
Oh,
then.
wow.
Sure enough, because I got promoted in 99. Yep.
Well, I will say this, you're talking about the tongue ring. So my nose is pierced.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
And I got it pierced, I think February 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember having conversations with other first line leaders when I was thinking about it. And it was like, don't do that. Why would you do that? You're not going to get promoted. I mean, the responses I got, and I was like, really? It just, appearance is so important to, and they are probably about between 15, 20 years older than I am, but their initial response is like, you are going to prevent yourself from getting promoted if you get your nose pierced. And I really had to have conversations with my leaders and say, hey, like, what would be your thoughts if I got my nose pierced? I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And I still wear my piercing in the workplace and there's no questions, but I think we were so focused on appearance and everything else that we just really, really prevented people from being who they are and showing up and really, really doing a good job outside of, you got to look a certain way and you got to do a certain thing. So you're talking about the tongue piercing, but this was just 2019 where I got that feedback. It was
Wow.
like,
And with them, and they were probably around my age group, because that's what we're all used to, because that's the kind of environment we grew up in. I remember one of the section managers fought us wearing sandals, open-toe sandals at work. And one of the reasons that she said we shouldn't, because just in case a stapler pierced our toe. I'm not kidding. We had, it was almost a riot in that place because we could not believe it. And even to before she retired, she would still wear her open-toe sandals with stockings on.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. And she retired about maybe 3 years ago. Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah. 3 years ago. She just retired. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, but that was the way it was. And so all of those things, even jean day, you only could wear jeans on payday Fridays. And when you wore your jeans, you had to wear a blazer. You could not wear just jeans and t-shirts in the workplace. Oh my word. There was no t-shirt unless there was a fun day at State Farm where we used to have all of these different events and stuff, and you can wear a t-shirt, but there is no such thing as a t-shirt. Like I have this t-shirt on and stuff. No, you would not wear a t-shirt to work. That was, I don't think t-shirts were even popular back then. You wouldn't dare wear a t-shirt to work.
and now that's what you probably will see Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And
Leggings.
And we've seen we've seen other things as well, but
Yeah.
a lot of times those individuals like give it 100% and do an amazing job where I learned to just be like, you know what? It doesn't even matter at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And now what we have to do is make sure we take the person on its face value. Look at the whole package and not part of the package, because organizations overall could have been so much further if they look at the individual and not, have these blinders on because of their own personal perceptions.
I got two questions. I don't want to forget. So we're talking about the younger generation and what we learned from them. What about, do you work with any individuals who maybe within 2 years of retirement and are looking for a career change or have been with their company for 20, 30 years and are on a line and trying to figure it out? Like what are some of those conversations you're having with those individuals? Because to your point, I can think about if I tell someone, if that's probably even my father, if I say I'm, want to leave the company, his first thought is probably, why would you leave that good paying job?
That's it. That's what we would say. Yes.
So do you encounter that where there's some people who later in life are not being held down just because you've been with the company for 20, 15, 20, 30 years?
I get a lot of career changers, and what they are scared of is if someone will accept them at their age. They've always wanted to do something, and they're finally breaking free of having to be aligned with what your father said. Why not leave? Why not do something else that I really love to do? And what's holding me back? really nothing. And I think it's a lot of what we're seeing with the millennials and with the Gen Zers. They're like, you know what, that is true. And especially with COVID and all the shutdown, people really start thinking about what else could I do? So that's when I got a whole slew of them really rethinking their lives. And then we have those conversations. What would that look like financially? Because sometimes they just want to switch holistically. I just had a conversation with a client I just took back on. I said, okay, now you want to do something totally different. I said, before we go further, he's doing an eye refresh. I said, let's talk. And then when I talked to him about it, I said, you're going to start at the very beginning and then start at entry level. Do you want that big of a drastic of a change in your income? And he made the decision, no. So I talked through those things and just not take them on. So, okay, here, pay for a resume. Let's go on. I really try to figure out what it is that you want to do, because I always say your success is my success. So I need to understand what is your strategy, or do you even have one? So talking through those things, the main things I get from them, will they accept me? Will they, want me at my age? And I'm like, it's not about your age. It's about how do you present yourself, and not only on paper, but also physically as well. Because I hate to say this, but sometimes if you're still wearing the same hairstyle that you wore back in the 80s, or still wearing pantyhose with open-toe sandals, we got to talk, not even just for the documents. We got to talk. How can you look, not to say youthful, I'm not saying you got to go put on a mini skirt, but how can you update your look so that you can also make sure that you show that you've got it? But sometimes what happens when people are in those positions for a long time, they also don't change how they look, how they come to work, how they dress, how they're interacting. They're still doing it from when they first started the job. So it's about an evolution. And that's why it's so important to do the counseling and the career documents, and then the coaching on how to do the career, what to do with the career documents once you get them. So yes, I get a lot of them, and every one of them always think, will somebody accept me? What would they, see me in this new role? What do I need to do? And sometimes they even think they have to go back to school, and that's not always the case. Who told you? One of my clients said, oh, I need to go learn PowerPoint. I'm like, ma'am, you are a director over technology, selling technology for a major corporation. Don't you think somebody do your own PowerPoint? And she fell out. She laughed. So she said, okay, Nickquolette, you're so right. I never thought about it. I said, why do you think that you need to go learn PowerPoint at a director going to be an AVP level? You got people that do that for you, boo. So it's about making them realize you don't have to do all of that kind of stuff.
Okay, that's good. But I think we forget about those individuals who have been in the workforce for a number of years. All right, so career hopping. This is a topic that is a new norm. What is it? Silent quitters? So is that term silent quitters? So, but career hopping, let's talk about that, because think back to different generations, or maybe if you asked me that a few years ago, it would just be unheard of, but it is very popular these days. So what are your thoughts on career hoppers?
I'm always about the strategy. I want to know why. What is your end goal? What are you attempting to gain? Now, if you're looking to try different things, I always say, well, the youth have more time on their side to try things. I just finished a actual LinkedIn profile for a lady. She's about to graduate in criminal justice. And she's like, but I've always had a love for the entertainment industry, and I will love to do it. I analyze movies. I do all this kind of stuff. I said, well, let's talk about that. And so therefore we built her whole profile based on her love, and just said, oh, by the way, this is what my, degree is going to be in. I said, so you have time on your side to try these things just to see if it'll work. Now, if it's somebody that's a little bit older, then you got to really think about your strategy. So I'm always going to find out what is your strategy, and let's always say this, there's more ways to get to that end goal than people initially think. So can we still have that same kind of career experience based on where you are now and do it in a different manner? So it's about, okay, what are we going to do? So, I mean, career hopping is not a bad thing if you're strategic, but if you're just hopping around like a bunny, it ain't going to be to your benefit. And if you don't know how to build that strategy, you need some guidance to build that strategy and stick to the plan so you can get to where you need to get to and what you want to get to. And guess what? If it don't work out because you have all that experience, you can always go back. That's the thing people think, because when I even remember with my career at the farm, when I got promoted so early, they were like, oh, you're going all the way out there? I'm like, I ain't gonna be out there forever. What are you talking about? Like, I'm going to Timbuktu, and girl was still in the same state. I was just going from the Chicago office to the Rockford office, which was 2 hours away. They act like I was going to another state. And then I ended up coming all the way back around and actually being the boss of one of the people who was the biggest naysayer about me leaving. And I was like, because we were peers together as claim representatives. And then all of a sudden I became her boss. And I'm like, see, I'm back. So you can't just assume. So what is your end goal? I'm like, I got this promotion. I'm gonna go learn what I need to learn and see where the future leads me. And that's what we have to find out. What is our end goal? And I've always been strategic like that. In college, girl, I used to write on paper with pencil because we didn't have computers. But anyway, I would map out what class I need to take, how I was going to take them, and all this. I would always have my plan. When I got to the company, this is all my plan. I'm going to do all of these things, write it out. And when I did it, I was able to, achieve my goals. So it's all about being strategic. What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then we were together, so I can say, I know you're very intentional about strategy. Mm-hmm. And a part of your strategy too is LinkedIn. Ooh. So okay, LinkedIn has, and I still have not tapped into it like I should. And I know you're going to get me, but yes, I do like your post. Yeah. But strategy is important, but then also part of your strategy. And I think for most industries, LinkedIn is a part of that. Because even with career hoppers, for the people that I know that I'm friends with and they moved around since they left the company, they're getting messages from LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So why is LinkedIn so wonderful?
LinkedIn is it's like any social media. So one of the things I'm going to tell you, Miss Jessica, it's like any algorithm. The more you're on there, the more the system will reward you. So therefore, if you're out there searching for different types of opportunities, you putting your voice out there and showcasing yourself as a career professional. So let me circle back. The reason you need to be on LinkedIn is because if you consider yourself a career professional, then you need to be on LinkedIn, period. Yes, it is social media, but it's a professional social media where you can have your voice heard in your niche of whatever that niche is and your angle. And it's part of the strategy as well on where you're trying to go. So people can find you and connect with you because of having that 860 billion people and counting. There's someone out there who knows someone that you can leverage to get to your next opportunity. And even if that's a slide to the side or doing some, I always call those coffee chats, having these coffee chats so you're top of mind, using that career highlights page that you have, Jessica, and, putting that out there. And, I've been inboxing you, connecting you with people too. Like, Jessica, do this, do this, do this. So being able to be on there and see what's out there, because if you're not on there active, you may miss an opportunity. Not to say that you have to be on there as often as, maybe you should be on there more than TikTok. If my daughter sent me another TikTok, I'm gonna have a fit. Anyway, I'm always gonna be making me watch all the TikToks. Yeah, they're cute and funny, but I ain't got time for TikTok. But anyway, that's just me. I am older, so all you millennials and all you Gen Zers, don't me. But just about, what is your purpose on there? And so therefore, I also talk about the strategy on what you need to do and how you need to work it to your advantage. Because when I took stock of all of my clients that I get outside of people referring me, I had to look at it, and I get them from LinkedIn inboxing. I actually got a guy I'm talking to later that some lady saw me, follows me, said, hey, my son needs your help. So we talking today because of LinkedIn. And because I find that because of what I'm putting out there resonates with people and they see my specialty, and that's how I get it. And it's basically free advertising, and it's free advertising to market yourself as a career professional. You are a brand. You are a career brand. And the way that you manage that is being out there, showcasing what you know, commenting, making those connections, and letting your voice be heard so those opportunities can find you. I'm a LinkedIn guru.
I know.
I all that Facebook and stuff. Yes, my show, it goes out to all those other areas. But baby, I have not got one client from Instagram. Not one. I may have gotten a couple from Facebook because people know me, but the majority of my clients come from LinkedIn. And I don't even do any advertising and marketing. Nope. They just see me out there doing stuff.
But you post very often though. So You're good about consistently posting.
And they see me and I'm staying top of mind. And that's what you can too. You stay top of mind in your profession. When somebody says, oh yeah, I think I do know somebody in that field because I see them posting all the time. I'm going to make a connection with them. And then they can say, oh, we got an opportunity for you. Again, it's social media. There's an algorithm and it will reward you.
I'm taking notes and I'll do better.
Yes.
Okay. So even with, think about your strategy and LinkedIn. And then you kind of talked about this a little bit earlier about mindset. When you think about your ideal clients or anyone who is going through career changes or wanting to be promoted, why do you think having a growth mindset is so important? We don't talk about it a lot. And I think sometimes in different organizations, I know at least, me working in corporate America, sometimes it's a word that you throw out. Oh, let me just throw that out there. But like, you got to really live it. So why is a growth mindset so important?
Well, for me, when it comes to clientele, I can tell if an individual has a growth mindset, if they are open to moving themselves forward, whatever it takes, and open to counsel, advice, coaching. And that's because they're willing to take the next step to get to where they want to be. Now, if they are only stops at, oh, price, I can't do it, then they're really not thinking about growing. They're just thinking about, I'm going to pay for a commodity. And right now that commodity is not worth it to me because of it. It's just a resume. I've heard that. Oh, it's just a resume. I say, no, it's actually your key to get your salary to help feed your family. And do you got health benefits? I start going through that, all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, no, it's a little bit more than that. So it's about what are you going to do? So how are you going to do it? So having a growth mindset helps you to understand step by step on what I need to do to get there. And it doesn't mean going fast. And I keep going back to being a strategy because growth is also strategy. So you can't, if you grow too fast, then you make mistakes. If you grow too slow, then you may miss some opportunities. What is the right speed for you to get to where you need to go? If you're focused on your end goal, and that's growth, because you put a seed in the ground, it's not going to grow automatically, is it? It's going to take that nurturing. It's going to take the watering. It's going to take the right soil. And that soil can be all the people that you surround yourself with, right? It's going to take all of those things, sunlight, the happiness that you can bring, people can bring around you, all those cheerleaders that are pushing you forward in order for that seed to continue to grow. And so you have to think about yourself as that seed. What do I want to do? And it's not about being a seedling, being youthful. I don't care what age, what seed is in you that you're wanting to grow. What is it? Career changers as well. What is it that you need to grow? What do I need to do to get that seed to grow so I can get to my end goal? And that's what it's all about. So it's almost, I would say it's pivotal to be able to get to that. And I'm so glad you brought that up because just thinking about that, I have not thought about the growth mindset. Girl, I'm about to take that and start talking to my clients about that, right? Say, do you have a growth mindset? But it's really about that. I talk about it in a general sense, but I didn't tie it to the growth mindset, but it's so true. You have to have that in order to get to your next, whatever that next is.
Yeah, I do think it's important. Yes. And again, it's, it's the key words, right? But outside of the key words, like it's important that you really, really have that if you want something. And you made a good point. It's not about the speed of getting somewhere else. And you talked about even going laterally sometimes. I think if you're focused so much on trying to get a title, that you will accept anything or you will, jump into, I say, leave one skillet into the fire and you're not even realizing it because you're chasing something. But sometimes slowing down is really the best way to go to get what you want in the long run.
Yep, because I've done that a lot. I was in leadership for 10 years. And then when my husband relocated to take on his pastorate, I was open to going back to a claim representative because I said, you know what, that's actually a good strategy because it's been so long since I've been on a desk. I believe it'll make me a better manager when I go back into management. I said, no, so I told the VP because she said, okay, would you be willing to take it? I said, sure enough. She said, that's not many leaders that will say that. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Next thing I know, I get a call from a place in Texas. They said, I don't know you. We don't have an opening for you. All I know is that we were told that we need to make your offer as a claim rep to relocate down here to Texas in the Houston area. I'm like, thank you, Susan Hood. And so I didn't tell them, but I said, okay. I accepted the opportunity, did that. And boy, it really opened my mind up. I said, this is now remember how to work claims from another perspective. And it only helped me get my next job. I became a corporate instructor down in teaching claim school because I was fresh off a desk and also being a leader. I had the skill set that nobody else had to get that opportunity. So I became a corporate instructor for a year and a half before they took it away. Don't let me go down that road. But anyway, so they redid that position. Y'all, I'm still heartbroken. Anyway, I did that. And I was at that time, the MG3 level. Then ILR, that's how I met you, beautiful. So the ILR came. They're like, that's an MG2, you're going down. I said, no, it's an opportunity to learn something new and stand up a startup operation. I've already done it for ICC, and I did it for the Language Advantage Unit. I'm going to do it. And my boss, everybody's trying to get that job. I don't know if you're going to get that job. I said, I already got experience. I'm just going to do it for some. And I said, I got the job. I told you. And he said, okay, well, you can't tell nobody yet because everybody else posted they not getting the job. I'm like, oh, well, that's on them. Anyway, but I was strategic in that. And I went on there and I kept using every single thing to get to that next opportunity. So yeah, it's not about being fast, going backwards, going to the side, going down to get to where you are. And all of those experiences, I truly use and leverage to build iRock.
Ooh, you said a mouthful, but oh, that was so good. Okay, I just want to piggyback on something you said about when you came down to ILR, which I guess I'll just provide some little context. ILR was a customer response center, so customer service basically for claim intake. But I got very similar feedback. I wasn't a leader at the time, but it was like, why would you take that job? Nobody wants that job. And I moved to Dallas in September, I think, end of September 2013. And I was promoted within 12 months to the job that everybody said I should have had. But if I would have waited, I wouldn't have been in Dallas. I was already in Dallas.
Yep.
And not only that, I would have probably had to compete with multiple people and either stay in Oklahoma City or move somewhere else. So like, one, God's timing is perfect. And I do believe in praying that if it's the right opportunity, you get it. But also, you got to be confident in what you want and your decisions, because people will try to be in your ear and tell you what you should and should not want. Yes. And if I compared the money to the MG2 and the MG3, yes, the MG3 would have made more money. Yes, I struggled when I moved here to Texas when I took that pay cut. But in less than a year, I got promoted again. I had got promoted twice. And, it's the work I put in, but also if I had listened to other people saying, why would you want that? Then I probably would not be in the position I am today. Absolutely.
And then you had your mindset, because one of the things that I did, I said, I'm not planning on being here for long. I'm going to get back to being an MG3. So when those opportunities came up, I was telling everybody, Jessica, I said, y'all put in for these MG3s. No, I'm not ready. It's going to be some more. I'm not ready. I said, what? And also, it wasn't just an intake center, y'all. It was a call center. So therefore, I was like, why not? I threw my name in that hat, stood up A1 MPC and PIP MPC, got my MG3 back because I knew it was going to happen. So I'm like, you just got to be strategic. And then remember when it happened? Because I think you got out either right after me. Because remember, then they shut down. They wouldn't let nobody else out. Remember that? Do you remember that? Oh my gosh.
I think there was a gap between me leaving. So I actually was covering your team for a month after you left.
Yep. Because they like, you out of here. And then people couldn't get the opportunities anymore because they took them off eventually they took them away. So a lot of those people stayed in those roles for years. And I said, I tried to tell you, some of my peers like, you told us to get out and you wouldn't do it. I said, girl, I can read the writing on the wall. I'm telling y'all, this is what you need to do, but I can't make people do it. So a lot of our peers ended up staying in those roles for many years, several years before they eventually just start getting out to the MG3. But they stunted their growth. They stunted their salaries and all of that kind of stuff. I said, no, boo, I'm already at the max. I said, I got a little bit of room for another raise. I got to get out. And that was my strategy. And I took it. And so you have to be strategic on what do you want to do. And all of that experience, I was gathering all of my toys around the Monopoly board, all of my pieces of property in order for me to go to the next level. So I was prepared. Now, when I took myself off, I just used all of that information on building my own startup. So I've stood up for operations. I know how to stand up a business. So you just got to figure out how you're going to use the stuff that you learn, and don't take it for granted, because I thank God every day, everything I have learned at this organization. I do. They have been my angel investor financially, and they have also taught me a whole lot. So I always thank them for everything I've learned. I don't take it for granted.
You're right.
Now I got to tell my story.
Okay, so tell your story about Austin, right? It's Austin.
We were in my car, and I'm just jamming to Ring My Bell. You can ring my bell. Do you remember that?
I do.
I said, do you know that song? You were looking at me like, no. I said, you don't know that song? I said, how old are you? And that's you told me.
And I think we went at night too. Did we miss the first day? I think we missed the first day.
We missed the first day, and we crammed and we crammed and we crammed. But that was so hilarious because I didn't know, because you were so mature and so you were in leadership and you were just so on it. You impressed me so much that I thought you were more advanced in years. So baby girl, you got it.
Thank you.
But when you didn't know that song, I had to ask you, how old are you? I said, oh my gosh, I'm old enough to be your mom. And I just sat there still for a minute. I was like, ooh, okay. Yeah, but I assumed you were, more mature in age because of how you carry yourself. So beautiful.
A lot of people do. But thank you. Yes, I remember that, driving to Austin. We missed the first night, and then all day Saturday, and we did cram. But to your point, it was the dedication.
Yes, you do what you have to do what you need to do to go where you want to go. The investment of time, going into the hotel room, paying the gas, paying your time, everything. You do what you have to do to invest in yourself, and it's worth it. Yep.
So is there anything else, Nickquolette, that you would like to share just to anyone any person that is like struggling with their career, that want to be promoted, that want to, just anyone that's feeling stuck, I should say. That's the best way.
Yeah, seek help. You got Jessica right here. Enlist her for your coaching. Please do that. And if you ever need me, I'm here too. So you have to invest in yourself, because it's always good to have a thought partner to think through things that you need to, because sometimes we could be our biggest critics, and we can be the biggest people standing in our way. We could be the door that we won't even open because it's closed, because we're not open to anything. So until you get that professional help, you're not going to be able to move. And then it becomes just a wish. That's it. But if you want it to become reality, take the steps to do it, and it'll pay off for you. It will pay off.
And can you clarify exactly what all is included in iRock resume? Because people just assume, if you're looking on the outside, right, that it's only resumes, but you offer more than that. So what all services do you offer?
I'm glad you asked that. And see, the name iRock Resumes is catchy. So I always tell people, that name will get you in the door. Then I'm going to tell you everything else, because it's such a catchy name. Because I did start off with just resumes, but because of all the experience and being in leadership for 23 plus years now, Jessica, I've done the interview prep. So I add the interview prep to it. I do the salary negotiation. I do the job search strategy. I do the LinkedIn branding and coaching on how to use it as well. And then those are all for my career professionals. And for my business people, I do the LinkedIn branding for businesses as well. So I do their personal branding for their personal page and build business pages as well. And then one of the other things I do is outplacement services. And I'm so excited to have landed a really nice contract to do outplacement services. So whenever they need people, I'm just going to be the person to do all of that outplacement. And then I do training and development. because it goes in hand. I do a lot of speaking on what I do. I don't call myself a speaker. I don't have a speaking business. I speak to sell what I actually offer. So I'm a speaker to sell my offerings, and also own a little small virtual assistant business that we just birthed out of a need, because so many people, need virtual assistants, and it's all overseas 100%, and it won't break the bank. It's called iRock Staffing. And so we're really a well-rounded firm that we do all of those things. And of course, the executive coaching, because I just finished my executive coaching training and should have my full ICF certification, praying for by the end of the year. Yep. So I'm excited.
It is just so great to see everything that has come out of this, because I remember you had book signings,
Yep, my books.
Yeah, so that's maybe 7-8 years ago, if that. So you have done so much, and even as I'm an individual that's in corporate America and then have my side business, like just thinking about all the things that you've accomplished and being consistent, like look where you are. If you make the time, you can absolutely get there. Like I said, I am a client. So I know your services work very well. And I wanted to make sure people know that it is worth the investment, not just as far as you're just paying for a resume, you're paying for coaching, but you're also learning throughout the process that are things that you can take outside of working with you in other ventures, so I definitely wanted to share that. But I appreciate you being here tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Be open and honest with who you are, what you do. And I hope that it really touches someone else who is struggling, because I talk to so many friends, Black women, that struggle with making that leap. And, we talk about salaries and are we getting what we deserve? And, we just don't know where to start or where to go. So I do hope that, everyone will reach out to you if they need your services, because you really are not just about writing the resume, but you're really about helping the actual client to get the results that they want, their heart's desires.
And it's not just about a career too, because sometimes I tell some of my people, you need to have your own business. You need to be a consultant, and here's how you need to do this. So it's all about this. And people have been after me about doing a actual course. So I'm doing a 30-day intensive in January to help people stand up their side businesses in 30 days and become profitable as soon as they're done. I'm gonna eliminate all the crap I went through and give y'all the condensed version, and you will be able to start your have your idea, build it, do everything you need to do, and be in business by the time end of January. So if they're interested, they can reach out and send me an email, and I'll send them. It's not on my website because I'm only doing it as people ask me. So we have a class. I have a class coming up in January, virtual class, and I'm going to teach you everything you need to do to stand your business up, systems, everything. And it's about, I know how to do. I'm not a business coach. I just know what to do. And so when I set you up, then I'm going to refer you out to a business coach to do all that stuff. But I know how to get you. I'm a startup specialist. I can start you up. But then after that, I'm going back to talk to my career peeps. That's who I love.
Well, I will on YouTube, I'll drop your information. Okay. And then this will also be on Anchor for the podcast. So they'll be on both platforms. But how can people find you?
iRocktresumes.com, iRocktresumes.com. Okay. Then I'm all over social media at iRockResumes, but the best place to connect with me
is LinkedIn. Okay.
That's my jam. Yep, connect with me on LinkedIn. And my long name, she'll have it spelled. So if you put it NICKQ, I should be the only person on LinkedIn to pop up. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out the most.
Okay, awesome. Well, yes, thank you again, Nickquolette. Sure appreciate it.
Thank you as well, Jessica, for having me. And I hope we made an impact.
I sure hope so as well. Thank you.
Thank you.